customers and employees, and when people are afraid, poor behaviors come out. And we've had to keep working and working hard. And yet a lot of white collar workers, for example, they've all just kind of gone into their homes and worked through Zoom, and I feel like their jobs have become easier. And so, yeah, I mean, there's just this thing where not only are we essential, but you have, nurses, you have farmers, you have transportation, you have grocery workers. Like we are the ones who have been under great stress. And our jobs have gotten harder. And so I can kind of, my store workers, to me, are they just deserve so much credit for working and for doing the work that they do.
Thanks for that explanation. And I think a lot of people may have not thought about it. I certainly, during the pandemic, the only place I was going was a grocery store. So it was a social outlet, is getting out of the house and getting things that you needed. But so let's move on to another topic, another question. Organic products have grown exponentially thanks to the availability in stores like Mom's. Can you talk about how this category of products has helped, or maybe in some ways hindered, or both, your success? I know I've read some reports just recently that Mom's is shown to be the lowest priced organic products store, or it has the lowest organic products, priced products among its competitors. Could you comment on that?
A couple questions in there. First of all, I consider myself lucky to be in this industry. When I started in the DC area, for example, there was a handful of health food stores, and that was it. And then, Fresh Fields came onto the scene. Whole Foods purchased them, and they've kind of, we know what they've all done. I'll give them a lot of credit, they've really, they are who they are today, which is, they've morphed. Generally speaking, I feel like Whole Foods really sort of is what Tesla is to electric cars. Like they've kicked open that door, and now they've brought in a lot of competition. And I feel like Whole Foods sort of did that with the organic foods industry, and then we could create this like extreme version where we're so dedicated to the environment and we're so dedicated to organics itself. We're very sort of pure in that way, almost radical. But it's been the point I want to make is that I do consider myself lucky. There's been great tailwinds. I remember like at a time when I thought I might need investors, I was meeting with some potential investors, and I says, look, organics is going to be everywhere. It's not a fad. It's like civil rights. Like it's something that just isn't going to stop making progress on as we evolve, because it's the right thing. And so I know organics is going to keep going, and it's going to keep growing, and it's going to keep taking over chemically farmed foods. It's going to keep replacing those because it's the right thing. It's better. And so, I've been in business for 36 years this summer, and I've always had these tailwinds behind me, where organic foods is just not a fad, and so I feel very fortunate to have kind of backed into this industry with those tailwinds.
Just a time check here. I just got a notice that there's 10 minutes left in this interview, which doesn't actually sync with, it was scheduled for an hour. I'm not sure, but just to protect this interview, I think I'll cut out a few questions, and I just wanted you to know maybe we need to shorten up a little bit.
Sure.
So minority neighborhoods are often deserts in terms of fresh and healthy foods. Do you have locations in primarily diverse minority neighborhoods? Are those stores and are those stores aligned to the demographic in the same way that I assume all of your properties align with their neighborhoods?
Um, you know, we have a few stores. I mean, we have Ivy City in DC, Center City in Philly, and um, um, the idea of food deserts is an interesting one. Um, as it pertains to organic foods. I mean, for sure, we need grocery stores, easy access to grocery stores for everybody. I've seen so often though, and you can see it here in DC, multiple times actually, taxpayer money is given to, healthy grocers, going into some food deserts. And they fail, and they've repeatedly failed, and they've recently failed. You can't drive demand through supply, and unfortunately, the poorer people in this country, whether in urban areas or rural areas, I feel like I've been duped by large agribusiness lobbying food manufacturers. They're used to cheap food, cheap, unhealthy food. I mean, that's what they've been sold. By, again, I believe, corporate interests. And so that needs to change on a more economic, education level. Certain foods are subsidized by the government, and allowed. I mean, even like the food pyramid, I mean, that
For sure.
old food pyramid that we all grew up on. It's like that was like gerrymandered by corporate interests, yeah, I mean,
Totally
just
agree with you on that.
yeah, I mean, just putting an organic grocery store, in a really poor area isn't going to cut it. It's not going to work. It doesn't work because it's not about supply. It's about economic disparity and education. It's just a huge
Yeah.
issue when it comes to organics and these products. I mean, people think organics are more expensive, which they are. I think they're a bargain when you consider their value. It's like saying, uh, I mean, you get what you pay for,
Right.
and there's a price. It might be cheap at the checkout counter, but there's a price that's paid down the line, whether that's environmental damage or poor health, and then medical costs, which we all pay later. So I think organics, again, even though it's got a higher price tag, it's got higher value, and I think that the chemically farmed foods, and all those unhealthy, fats and sugars, they carry a huge price tag, that
Yeah,
society pays.
I can jump in there with some data just to support exactly what you're saying. There's 11 million people that die annually from too many nutrients and the wrong nutrients.
Yeah.
And so absolutely what you're saying. So I'm going to jump to the final question here. Can you look into your crystal ball and tell us what new trends you see in the food horizon yourself? And in particular, do you see any reduced animal meat consumption, for example?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like people are moving off of especially red meat. That is, I feel like, is a trend. I don't have any data behind that. It's interesting, we sell red meat, and we catch some people don't like that we sell red meat because it's not as good. It's worse for the environment as other products, and it is. Eating a burger is worse than eating cauliflower. The way I say it to people, though, is it's like we are on a journey. We're all on a journey, and it's progress, not perfection. The red meat we sell, for example, is better than the CAFO, factory farmed, chemical, hormones, antibiotics beef that you would get somewhere else. And so it's like people don't go from eating like Doritos and Coke to kombucha and kale like overnight. This is a process and a journey that takes some time. And so we we like to sell, and not everything we sell in our store is good for you. You know, we have ice cream, we have chocolate bar, you know, so but the ice cream is better than the stuff that you might get at a conventional grocery store. So we leave room for people's journeys. I think meat is being consumed less. You know, hopefully people are moving more towards like chicken and fish, which is not as bad for the environment, and then eventually vegetables altogether and fruits and grains. So yeah, I think now there are trends. I've seen trends my whole life come through, and they actually kind of irritate us here. You know, whether it's, you know, kale goes crazy, quinoa was a superfoods this, and then even this, you know, we see a lot of labeling which is confusing that manufacturers use that's fad, like GMO free. First of all, it's things that aren't even available GMO, and if it's organic, it's GMO free. So there's a lot of that confusing label redundant, and part of it, by the way, is this plant-based. Like I see things like plant-based corn chips. When did corn chips ever have animals in them? You know, so it's just sort of like if, you know, we get it, like plant-based is great for the environment, but it does get over, I think, marketed and confused sometimes. But the move towards plants is obviously better for everybody, the environment and our health.
And the food is medicine movement is certainly something along those same lines. It's starting, so that's helpful. I think, you know, 5 hospitals or 6 hospitals in New York City, the public hospitals, are using plants as medicine.
That's
They are, and California has, I think, also a trend I've read. They're definitely using it out there. I hadn't heard so much about it, but they're giving prescriptions for plants. This has been so interesting talking to you, Scott. Thank you so much for the great work you do in running your organic markets, which are good for all of us, but also that huge commitment to the environment and your environmental concerns and how you run your business with not having plastic bags, and just your support and caring for your customers, for your employees, and for the environment. So thanks for taking the time today.
You're welcome. Thank you for your work as well, Jane.
Thank you.
Yeah,
we're going to end our interview.